Hello, people. Welcome back to The Struggle, where we dive deep into the most effective ideas, stories, theories, and strategies for overcoming life's challenges. The struggle is the process of working through internal or external resistance in pursuit of growth and meaning. And together we'll figure out how you're restricted and explore how you can struggle to break free and grow through whatever adversity you're facing. This week, I'm asking a few big questions that cut to the heart of ambition and success. Why do we strive so hard? What are we really chasing? And why do so many high achievers feel lost, empty, or even depressed once they finally make it? We live in a culture that glorifies achievement, wealth, status, and productivity. But what if reaching your goals doesn't bring the satisfaction that you imagined? What if the climb was more meaningful than the summit? In this episode, we're going to explore the hidden costs of ambition, why the future we crave can never fully fix the present we're trying to escape from, and what's actually missing from the equation when success doesn't feel like enough. Why are there constant warnings all over social media of multi-millionaires telling us that money won't make you happy, while simultaneously we are bombarded with the opposite message that money, cars, big houses and fancy clothes will make us happy, and that we are failures for not having those things? These are the key questions we're answering today. This is episode 60. And by the end of this episode, you'll be prepared for when you eventually find success so that you don't fall into the trap that so many fall into. Now, of course, you're ambitious. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't. Those who are ambitious have a very crucial and somewhat obvious thing in common. They are all striving for more. And by striving for more, we can assume that we are lacking something now. Maybe it's money, maybe it's love, maybe it's achievement, maybe it's fame. But one thing's for certain, all ambitious people are aiming for something they don't have now. And as much as ambition is celebrated in our culture, it can be dangerous. So first, an ambitious person will set a goal to achieve or attain something, and by doing so they admit that they are lacking something in the present. On the surface, this isn't a problem, but it's when the present becomes not good enough. It's when the present is only bearable by living within this enticing imagined future, a future in which we have all that we desire. Obvious problems are going to arise when the present becomes only bearable, when we're living within the confines of this enticing, imagined future. For one, what makes us think that whatever we are aiming at will make us happy or successful? It seems social media has a lot to answer for. There are millions and millions of content creators, and there is millions of videos, and there are loads of content all over social media advocating for this way of living. You do this workout and you become ripped. You buy this course and you become rich. You wake up at 4 a.m. to become successful. All of these messages have one thing in common. They all insinuate you're lacking something now, and thus your life isn't good enough now. And how many stories have you heard of ultra-rich people, the successful or the famous people, who are also depressed or anxious or who act out? So it seems we can safely assume that some ambitious people insert all of their hopes into this imagined future, so much so that that future can't possibly live up to how they're perceiving it in their heads, and so they become depressed when they eventually arrive at their future. And so they drink, or they take drugs, or they lash out. So there must be something we're missing, because success, money, and achievement isn't the complete answer. Success, money, or achievement doesn't equal meaning and freedom. So there must be more to the equation, otherwise we wouldn't have drug-addicted actors, depressed millionaires, and abusing singers. So what is missing? Well, entrepreneur, author, and podcaster Tim Ferriss, someone who's rubbed shoulders with the ultra-successful and who's experienced success, money, and fame somewhat himself, acknowledged this problem in a recent podcast episode. He believes that the vast majority of the people who we call quote-unquote successful, either professionally or financially, are more predisposed to depression and anxiety. And the reason for that, Ferriss believes, is striving. When you're striving, i.e. when you're lacking success, money or achievement, you have two things. You have hope and belief that when you attain those things, the vast majority of your problems, the things that are eating away at you now, the things that keep you up at night and the worries, will just vanish. Now, how likely is it that that will occur? How likely is it that your relationship problems will vanish when you're a millionaire? How likely is it that your self-punishing inner dialogue will simply stop when you're famous? How likely is it that your low self-esteem will vanish the minute you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve? Ferriss goes on to say that by and large, that doesn't happen. So why do we strive in the first place? Well, Ferriss has the answer to that too, because the other thing that the striving period gives you is a mission. It gives you a feeling of purpose. However, once you are the greyhound that catches the rabbit on the track, you say to yourself, now what? This is the arrival fallacy, coined by Harvard psychologist Tal Ben-Shahar. The arrival fallacy is a belief that once we arrive with money, fame or love, we'll finally feel whole. But when we get there, it's often a letdown. And this isn't entirely your fault, because once again, this is an adaptive feature of humans, not a bug. We are built to be dissatisfied because it helped us survive tens of thousands of years ago. If we were satisfied, we wouldn't have explored new worlds and invented new and more effective ways to survive. Feeling dissatisfied helped us learn to build shelters, identify poisonous plants, and build better weapons. We felt dissatisfied and made progress so that we were more likely to survive. But the problem today is that we don't need to feel dissatisfied to survive. And so dissatisfaction doesn't get us anywhere except more achievement, more money, or more success. But none of these things can truly sustain your satisfaction, otherwise you wouldn't crave more. This is the hedonic treadmill at play. No matter how fast you run, you stay in the same place. You aim at something, achieve it, then move on to the next thing because it didn't satisfy you like you thought it would. You return to that baseline of satisfaction only to find yourself back running towards the next goal. Whilst this might help you achieve a great deal, it will never make you truly whole or provide true meaning and freedom. That can only come from stepping off the treadmill. So it seems there's a big problem. When we strive to such an extent that we make the present unbearable, unless we tell ourselves all of today's problems will be solved by tomorrow's achievements, we will perpetually be dissatisfied and depressed because tomorrow's achievements cannot possibly solve all of today's problems. And so when we eventually get to tomorrow, we'll be even more depressed because we now have the thing and it didn't live up to your expectations. And so the cycle repeats and repeats over and over again until we step off the treadmill. And so we come back to the key question of this episode. What's missing within the equation? Achievement equals purpose. The answer is hiking. Yes, you heard that correct. Hiking. Let me explain. In his remarkable book, 4,000 Weeks, Oliver Burkeman spoke about the importance of doing things for their own sake. Now, atelic activities are done in order to achieve some future goal, and atelic activities are done for their own sake. Burkeman says, quote, "The point of a walk in the countryside is not to get it over with as fast as possible." And so the missing part of the equation, of course, isn't hiking, but it's fun. Achievement, plus fun equals purpose. What's the purpose of a life whose sole purpose is a future that's never here? Fun is a feeling of enjoyment or entertainment typically associated with activities done for leisure, play, or personal satisfaction rather than duty or obligation. Put another way, fun is doing something for its own sake, not some future goal. Now, Burkeman isn't advocating that we only do activities for their own enjoyment, just that we refrain from instrumentalizing everything in our lives. Everything in our lives doesn't have to have a future purpose. Chris Williamson coined this the Huberman Effect, in which you're not going out into the sun because you want to, you're going out because Andrew Huberman said morning sunlight optimizes your circadian rhythm. And so the absolute best way to prepare for success is oddly to refrain from aiming at success every once in a while. It's to replace telic activities, those that are done for some end goal, with atelic activities, those that are done for their own enjoyment. If you're constantly living within the confines of an imagined future to such an extent that the present is unbearable, your life will be one depressing but high-achieving blur. But if you stop every now and then and appreciate the present, enjoy it, and have some fun, your life will have purpose, both from what you achieve and from what you enjoy. We need to stop thinking of life as a journey, as Alan Watts said, because journey implies an end goal, but the end of life is death. So why are we striving towards that? Alan Watts said, quotes, "We thought of life by analogy with a journey, but we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or dance while the music was being played." And so, there you have it. To prepare for success, stop aiming at it once in a while and enjoy the ride and do things for their own sake, not some future goal. And so, the answer actually lies in hiking. So go for a hike. Hi guys, I've just got a wee bit of housekeeping before you take off. Firstly, thank you so much for watching. It genuinely means a lot to see people watching and liking the content. Second, if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe to the channel. That's the absolute best way you can support the podcast. As you can probably tell, I don't have a team behind me helping with recording or editing the podcast, and I don't have a lot of fancy equipment, so any help or support is greatly appreciated because it will help the podcast grow and get better. And finally, keep on struggling.